Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm making a really simple hot process soap recipe. I haven't made many hot process recipes videos for this channel. I've only made one kind of proper one before, and that was my one for beginners that I did ages ago with honey and oats, and that was really nice. But today I'm trying something new. I'm doing a carrot puree soap. So it's going to have carrots and turmeric. I'm also going to add some yogurt at the end, which should be really, really nice. But I've never made this before. I'm just trying it out. It's going to be a simple 3 oil soap with olive oil, some sustainable palm oil and coconut oil. That's it. And I guess I'll talk you through the recipe as I go. Hope you enjoy it. So the first thing I did to get this soap going was to cook my carrots. These are just peeled carrots that I steamed for a minute or two in the microwave. If you don't want to use a microwave, that's okay. You can just do them on the stovetop or in a steamer. And they're cooled, and I'm just adding a bit of water to them, and I'm going to blend them up. So I'm just using my Ninja Bullet blender thingammy. And you really just want to blend these as smooth as you can. I've seen other people making puree soaps with veggie and fruit purees, and they strain them. I decided I didn't really want to strain it, so I've just made this as fine a puree as I possibly can, so there'll be no lumps at all. And I realized after initial blending I needed a bit more water, so I added a bit more water, screw the top back on, and give it another go. So I blended this for, I don't know, maybe a minute or so, maybe a bit less. I stick my hand out the back of the blender where the air comes out, and once I feel that getting hot, I stop blending. But this was really super, super smooth. You'll see it in a sec. So there's 0 lumps in that at all. That is a really, really fine carrot puree. Now we won't need all of this for the soap, but I just made enough. We only use 120 grams of carrot puree for this soap, so just measure that out and set that aside, and you can put the leftovers in the freezer and use it for another soap. Now to get the oils ready. So I'm using olive oil, coconut and palm oil. This is sustainably harvested palm oil. And you can see the palm oil and the coconut oil are solid. Now they need to be melted before you weigh them out. This is the olive oil going in first. I've just melted the others in the microwave on really low heat. So 540 grams of olive oil, which is 60% of the oils of the total recipe. And this is just the mild olive oil from Aldi. It's 100% olive oil, but it's more refined, so it's a bit lighter in colour. But you can use any olive oil that you can get. Just get the most affordable one would be my recommendation. So I'm just adding my oils individually because my crock pot is too heavy to put on my little scale. This is the palm oil. I melt it first just to make sure all of the fatty acids are really well mixed. They can separate with palm oil. So I'm using 270 grams, which is 30% of the base oils for this recipe. So just measure that out. It's easier to measure it accurately if you do them individually. If you put them all together and you make a mistake, you can't take it out. But do whatever method you like to use. This is just what I'm do for this recipe. And coconut oil, it's melted now too, just 90 grams of that. And that forms 10% of the base oils. So it's 60% olive, 30% palm and 10% coconut. But all the recipe details are in the description box, so don't worry about writing it all down, it's all there. Now get your safety gear on, and please watch my introductory soap videos if you've never made soap before. It's important to know the safety. I'm measuring out the water for my lye solution. So we need 185 grams water in total, but I'm using half ice for this. And I'm using rainwater just for something to try today. We do have water tanks. And this is going to form part of the liquid for the recipe. So the carrot puree and the water together, they combine to form the liquid for the whole recipe. And here's my sodium hydroxide. I'm using 123 grams, and this gives the soap, this amount of lye gives the soap a 5% superfat. So it's a bit of a you know, give it a little bit of extra oil in there that is unsaponified to make it nice and mild and gentle. So just add your sodium hydroxide slowly and carefully. I've sped this video up, but make sure you do this really carefully and slowly, and make sure you have your goggles on and your gloves. The really cool thing about using ice is it stops the fumes. I learnt this trick from, who did I learn that from? Turmeric Soapworks. It's a really, really good trick. I think I'm going to use this for all of my soap recipes in future. And your lye solution doesn't get so hot, so you don't have to wait so long for it to cool down. So I've got my 3 oils in my crock pot. It's on low heat, and I'm ready to start making the soap now, which is cool. So I start off by gently adding my lye solution into the oils. I'm not taking any temperatures for anything. I know that the oils are warm. I know that the lye solution is just kind of lukewarm because I made it with ice, and that's quite okay. As long as they're both warm, it's fine. Just start with stick blending it. You really, for this kind of process, you just want to bring it to trace, really, and then the crock pot, the heat from the cooker does the rest and forces the saponification of the soap. So I'm just using my stick blender to slowly blend this through and bring it to a nice emulsification and a light trace. Now for this recipe, it took me a while to decide how to do this, but I decided to add my carrot puree fairly early on too. And the reason for that is that I actually want the carrot mixture to go through the saponification, so the complete cooking of the soap. And I figured that this was a good way to kind of keep it more sterile, like you're not adding fresh ingredients right at the end. I think you probably could, and it'd be fine to do that. Look at that colour. But I wanted the carrot puree to go through the full saponification. That way, chemically, it's been exposed to that high alkalinity and the high heat as well. So it will make the soap as sterile and as less prone to spoilage as possible. That's my thinking anyway. I could be completely wrong, but that was the way that I thought about it. So you can see that carrot has just made it a really beautiful colour. I just love that. It's so lovely and light and golden. You could use pumpkin too for this. You could use any kind of fruit or veggie puree you want. I just decided to go for carrot. And then a few minutes later, I decided to add my turmeric as well. This is really nice, good quality turmeric from India that I get from one of my local Indian groceries. I used about 1/3 teaspoon. Turmeric is great in soap. It's a great natural soap colorant, but it can make the soap kind of brown if you add too much. So just go easy on the turmeric. Now you can see the soap has thickened up a fair bit already. So just gently whisk that turmeric in, and the soap is well on its way to saponifying. So if this was a cold process soap, you'd have it in the mold already. It's already that thick. We're just going to use the heat of the crock pot to force the saponification. We're going to cook this until it gels, and then we're going to add the yogurt at the end and the essential oil and put it in the mold. So you really just want to help this along a little bit by stirring it. You can see I stir this soap through this video quite a lot. At some point you'll see soon it gets too thick to stir, but it's a bit irresistible. If you make this, you'll be wanting to stir it constantly because it's kind of fun. And I used a few different implements. I got my steel whisk out. I didn't stick with that too long because I didn't like the sound of it against the steel, against the crockery. It didn't sound too good to me. But it's a good utensil if you're making a soap in a plastic container. And then I got out my pink silicone spoon. Oh gosh, I think I tried every spoon. The reason I showed all of these is because if you look carefully, You can see the soap changing texture. If you look closely, you can see it kind of starting to go a little bit greeny looking. So it is cooking. It is coming along, and you're going to see soon it changes quite drastically. So I'm back to my little green spatula now. I decided it was the best one after all. So you really just want to keep the soap off the sides, keep it all kind of together, and just, once it's getting really thick, just put the lid on and leave it. About 5 minutes later, I had to check it again, and look how firm it is. And you can see it's starting to go jelly along the sides. So this soap is racing along. It's really firmed up and it's just beginning to gel. Just know that all hot process soaps behave differently. They don't all go through the different stages. Like some of them go through the mashed potato and applesauce kind of phases. Some of them volcano, and you've got to watch them and stir them down so that they don't make a big mess all over your kitchen. Spraying the water on the top. This is a great tip that I learnt from Valerie Mosher from Shalebrook Handcrafted Soap. That's a really good tip to stop your soap from drying out. And this is it after another 10 minutes. Look how jelly it is at the bottom. So this soap didn't kind of go through mashed potatoes at all. It just went straight from kind of solid and then it gelled. So that was interesting. I didn't quite expect that. But it's easy to stir now. So now once it's sort of gelled and it gets out of that hard phase, you can stir it again. I turn my slow cooker off at this point. I don't want to add any more heat. The soap is gelling, so it's almost done. You don't want to add any extra heat or you'll overcook the soap and you'll dry it out too much. That's why that water sprayer tip is so good. You just keep the top of the soap sprayed. As I said, Valerie does this in her videos. It's a really, really good tip. Otherwise you get those dry kind of flaky bits in your soap. So I've still got some white light coloured bits on there that aren't gelled, so I'm just going to leave this a little bit longer. But I do take it out of the base of the cooker because the ceramic pot has got enough residual heat for what I need now. But I want it to start cooling down a little bit. That is a beautiful soap. More stirring. I'm just waiting, letting the soap sort of sit for a little bit just to completely gel. It's completely gelled now. You can see it's quite soft, and that's due to the water amount. All in all, this soap has about a 2.5 to 1 water to lye ratio, but with the yogurt added at the end, it's close to a 3 to 1. And I think you do need a bit more liquid in hot processed soaps so they don't dry out. This is where I'm adding the yogurt. This is homemade soy yogurt that I make. You can use any yogurt you like though. The reason why you add yogurt at the end, this is a really good trick from the fluid hot process soap makers, and you can Google that and look at some videos on that. The lactic acid in the yogurt helps make the soap more fluid, which makes it easier to mold. I decided to add the full 1/4 cup. It's 60 mils in total that I added, but again, all the details are in the description box, so don't worry. But yeah, adding the yogurt, you can see how that soap is a lot more fluid. So if you wanted to do swirls and stuff, you probably could in this soap. I'm adding the lemongrass essential oil now, 27 grams, which is 3% of the total base oil amount. Just mix that in. So the yogurt cools the soap down a little bit more, so it's fine to add the essential oil straight after that, because we're really just doing the final little steps now before the soap gets molded. So mix that essential oil in really, really well. Now, here's for the fun part. I just slop this soap into this mold bit by bit. Just make sure you tap the mold down as you go so you don't get as many air pockets. Yeah, it's a lovely fluid soap. I've been watching a lot of videos on fluid hot process soap making, and they all use this yogurt at the end trick. It really does loosen up the batter a lot. Beautiful. It smells amazing with the lemongrass. It's lovely. It's kind of inspired a little bit by some of my Indian friends. This soap, the turmeric and the carrot and the lemongrass. This lemongrass essential oil actually comes from Cochin in Kerala in southern India, where I have been. It's an amazing part of the world. I just love it there in Kochi, and yeah, it's cool to think that my lemongrass oil comes from there. So that was really nice. I just textured the top of this with a spoon first and then a fork. I kind of wanted it to look a little bit chunky. This is not my forte. Just make your soap however you like. And here we are. Beautiful soap the next morning. You don't have to insulate this soap or anything. Once you've got it in the mold, just leave it. Let it sit at room temperature. It will firm up enough to cut the next day. So I'm just peeling off my non-stick baking paper. I'll put a video link to how you can make a folded liner in the description box as well. It's a really handy trick if you've got unusual shaped molds or timber molds that you want to line. And I just scrape off some of those rough edges because the fork gave the sides a little bit of a messy edge. I won't be doing that again. Just trim those off so it's nice and smooth if you've got any chunky bits. And I'm cutting the soap. Wow. I'm so happy with this soap. It does have a few little air pockets in it, but to be honest, it's really, really smooth and lovely. There's no dry, flaky bits that I used to get on my hot process soaps when I first started making them. Didn't really understand about the overcooking thing. Keeping them fluid and smooth and not overcooking them is really helpful. That is a beautiful soap. The colour is great, the smell is great. I'm really, really happy with that. I think some of you are really going to like this one. I just cut my little end piece off. I'm going to use that as a bit of a tester. I did test this actually, and it's not on the video, but I did actually test this soap and it has fully saponified, so it's safe enough for me to touch without gloves. Hot process soap usually does saponify completely through the cooking. But I did test this one to make sure as well. So I do give you a little bit of a demo just to show you the lather. Now this soap, like all cold process or hot process soaps, it benefits greatly from a full 6-week cure. So I don't recommend you using it straight away, and it's a bit too soft anyway, but you can use it like this just to test it out if you want to. It's got a gorgeous lather, and it'll be quite a long-lasting bar as well. The palm oil in this soap does help it a lot to be a harder and longer lasting soap, so it's a good recipe if you're looking for something that will last a bit better and not go quite so soggy, especially if you live in a tropical or subtropical area. But it's a really gorgeous, lovely, simple soap with a few little special bits added. And that's it. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate all of your support with this channel. It's such an exciting time for me, and I can't wait for next year. Please check out the description box, especially if you've never made soap before, but I'll put a few interesting little links in there as well. Thanks, everyone.